Single dad fixed the CEO's computer and accidentally saw her photo. She asked, "Am I pretty?" The moment the computer screen flickered back to life, everything changed. What began as a routine repair job inside a silent glass tower became the kind of moment that quietly reshapes two broken lives. In an office where power was measured by numbers and status, a single father with worn hands and tired eyes was about to see the one thing the most powerful woman in the building never allowed anyone to see: her vulnerability. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet moments that can change a life forever, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The man's name was Daniel Hale. At 38, his life looked nothing like what he had imagined in his 20s. Once full of ambition and plans, he now measured his days in school drop-offs, late-night repairs, and grocery bills calculated down to the last coin. He was a single dad raising a 7-year-old daughter named Lily, whose laughter was bright enough to hide how thin their safety net really was. Daniel worked as an independent IT technician, taking short-term contracts that offered no stability but just enough to keep the lights on. His old car rattled when it stopped, his shoes were always one season behind, and his phone screen was cracked like the quiet fractures in his life. That morning, Daniel stood in the lobby of one of the tallest corporate buildings in the city, clutching a temporary access badge. The company's name was known everywhere, worth billions, admired, feared. At the top of it all was its CEO, a woman whose face appeared on magazine covers, whose decisions moved markets, and whose presence commanded rooms without effort. Her name was Evelyn Cross. People described her as brilliant, untouchable, and ice-cold. No one ever spoke about her as human. Daniel had been called in because her personal computer had locked her out completely. High-level security, encrypted systems, and a critical presentation scheduled within hours. The in-house team had failed. Daniel was a last resort. He felt the familiar weight of pressure settle on his shoulders as he rode the elevator upward, watching the numbers climb like his own anxiety. Evelyn's office was not warm. It was precise. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city like a conquest. Everything had a place, and nothing looked lived in. When Daniel approached the desk, he noticed how quiet the room was, the kind of quiet that comes from isolation rather than peace. He set down his tools carefully, aware of how out of place he looked in his simple jacket and scuffed boots. As he worked, his mind drifted the way it always did when he focused deeply. He thought about Lily's school project due next week and how he wasn't sure he could afford the supplies. He thought about the rent notice folded in his wallet. He thought about how life had a way of narrowing down to survival when dreams became luxuries. The repair was delicate. One wrong move could trigger data loss. As Daniel bypassed the system error, the screen briefly flashed through folders before stabilizing. That was when it happened. A photo appeared for just a second too long to be ignored. It wasn't a corporate headshot. It wasn't polished or posed. It was a candid image of Evelyn Cross sitting on the floor of what looked like a small apartment, hair loose, no makeup, holding a mug with both hands. Her eyes were tired but soft, and there was a faint, uncertain smile on her face. It was the kind of photo someone keeps when they want to remember who they were before the world demanded armor. Daniel froze, not out of curiosity, but out of something deeper: recognition. He knew that look. He saw it every night when he caught his reflection after Lily fell asleep. It was the look of someone carrying everything alone. He quickly minimized the screen, his heart racing, afraid he had crossed a line. But before he could steady himself, he felt the air in the room shift. Evelyn had noticed. She stood a few feet away, watching him not with anger, but with something far more unsettling: uncertainty. She asked him, quietly, without authority or edge, if she was pretty. The question didn't land like small talk. It landed like a confession. Daniel didn't respond with flattery or awkwardness. He didn't respond at all, at least not with words. His silence wasn't disrespect. It was careful. It was the pause of a man who understood how dangerous honesty could be, and how rare it was to be asked for it sincerely. When he finally spoke, he spoke gently, not as an employee or a technician, but as another human who knew what it meant to feel unseen. He told her that the photo looked real, and that real had a beauty that power could never manufacture. He told her it looked like someone who had survived more than people knew. Evelyn didn't turn away. She didn't dismiss him. She listened. That moment cracked something open in her. All her life, people had praised her intelligence, her leadership, her appearance when it suited their goals. No one had ever answered her vulnerability without trying to gain something in return. Daniel didn't know her status beyond what the building suggested. He didn't need her approval. He had nothing to sell. As he finished the repair, the room felt different. The windows still framed the city, but the air felt warmer, heavier with something unspoken. Evelyn asked about his work, his life, his family. Daniel answered honestly, not dramatically. He spoke of Lily, of late nights, of doing what needed to be done. He didn't ask for sympathy. He simply existed as himself. In the days that followed, Daniel thought the encounter would fade into memory like so many others. But it didn't. Evelyn requested him personally the next time there was a system issue. Then again. And again. Each visit carried small conversations that grew longer, deeper. She asked about Lily's school. She asked how Daniel managed stress. She listened. Behind closed doors, Evelyn began to unravel parts of herself she had buried under success. She had grown up without warmth, learning early that achievement earned attention and vulnerability invited loss. She had built an empire and locked herself inside it. That single question she had asked Daniel haunted her, not because of the answer, but because she had finally dared to ask it. For Daniel, the changes were subtle but meaningful. His invoices were paid immediately. His contract was extended. He was offered a full-time position with benefits he had never imagined having. At first, he resisted, afraid of strings attached. But there were none. Just respect. One evening, Daniel brought Lily to the office after hours when childcare fell through. The building that once intimidated him now echoed with a child's laughter. Evelyn watched from her office doorway as Lily sat cross-legged on the floor, drawing pictures while Daniel worked. Something inside Evelyn ached, not with envy, but with longing. She joined them, not as a CEO, but as a woman curious about connection. Lily showed her a drawing of a house with light pouring from every window. She said it was a safe place. Evelyn held the paper longer than necessary. From that point on, everything shifted. Evelyn began leaving earlier some days. She started mentoring young employees instead of intimidating them. Daniel's presence reminded her that success without connection was just another form of loneliness. Their bond didn't rush toward romance or drama. It deepened slowly, built on shared silences, mutual respect, and the understanding that both of them were healing. Daniel learned that strength could be quiet. Evelyn learned that beauty could exist without permission. The real test came when Daniel made a mistake at work, a minor error that cost time and money. He expected consequences. Old habits told him people like him were disposable. Instead, Evelyn stood by him, took responsibility publicly, and corrected the issue privately. That was the moment Daniel realized this wasn't just opportunity. It was trust. As months passed, Daniel's life stabilized. Lily flourished. Evelyn's company thrived under a leader who finally led with empathy. And that photo, once hidden away, found a new place. Not on a hard drive, but framed quietly in Evelyn's home, a reminder of the woman she had been and the one she was becoming. Before this story ends, we have one special request. Please comment below and tell us what kindness means to you, or share one moment when a small act changed your life. Your words might inspire someone who really needs them today. On a quiet evening, long after the chaos of meetings and deadlines, Daniel fixed one last computer glitch. As he packed his tools, Evelyn looked at him with the same softness she once feared. She didn't ask the question again. She didn't need to. The answer lived in the way she had learned to see herself through the eyes of someone who asked for nothing but honesty. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that healing often comes from the smallest, quietest moments, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement tells us these stories matter, and so do the people living them. Sometimes, all it takes to change a life is a single question, asked at the right moment, by someone brave enough to be vulnerable.